Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
I knew everything. The moment she slipped out that door in her new dress, silky midnight blue, clinging to her hips, and gave me that glance of triumph, I felt the weight of it. I was standing by the window, looking out at the city that never truly sleeps. Lights blinked in the distance, a half-empty freeway hummed below, and somewhere out there, laughter and music were beginning to brew. But inside me, the clock had stopped. My breath was shallow. My throat felt tight. I couldn't speak, couldn't protest beyond a thin, futile "don't." She just looked back at me over her shoulder, eyes bright with a dangerous thrill. Then she was gone. The door closed, leaving me alone with the neon glow dancing across the walls. I stood there for a long time, ignoring the swirl of headlights in the window's reflection, ignoring the faint honks of cabs from the next street over. I just stared. At nothing. At everything. Time crawled. The city kept moving, but inside my chest, something collapsed in on itself. This moment had been building for months, maybe years. I don't remember how many times I'd caught little inconsistencies, small cracks in the smooth facade of our marriage. And yet each time, I pushed it away. Told myself I was seeing ghosts. But no, ghosts don't wear brand new perfume and slip out at 11 at night with a reckless grin. Ghosts don't come home at 4 in the morning, reeking of sweat, booze, and something intangible that crushes your soul with jealousy. Ghosts don't lie so seamlessly about late-night brainstorming sessions or an impromptu bachelorette party. This was real. Flesh and blood. It had a name. Her name was Rebecca, and she was my wife. I clicked the lamp off, letting the dark settle over me, hoping it would numb the screaming inside my head. Didn't help. I ended up sitting in the living room, curtains open, city lights flickering over the furniture. My phone lay face down on the coffee table, as though it too was part of the betrayal. I didn't check her stories on social media, didn't call, didn't text. Instead, I just breathed, in and out, trying to keep it steady. I thought about every second that led us here. The day we met, the day we said "I do," the day we first entertained the idea of a child, then changed our minds a few months later. The arguments, the silent evenings, and more than anything, I thought about time itself, how it corrodes everything if you let it, how it creeps in, unstoppable, wearing down trust, intimacy, love. You start as partners in crime, then gradually become strangers, all while the clock ticks mercilessly. Time is the real enemy, I kept thinking. Time and the rot that follows. I must have dozed off around dawn, because I woke up to a dull ache in my lower back and golden sunlight stabbing my eyes. Rebecca wasn't home yet. The emptiness of our condo hit me. The corners felt bigger, the hallway echoing like a grave. I rubbed my face, tried to gather my thoughts. Then, as if on autopilot, I reached for my phone. Swiped it open, ignoring the dryness in my mouth. I tapped YouTube out of sheer habit, wanting a distraction. Some random video, maybe a snippet of daily news, a cooking channel, anything to fill the silence. But the first thing that popped up was an ad. On Life Ends, a voiceover promising exclusive content from your favorite creators. There was a snippet of a woman in lingerie, face obscured by shadows, leaning in to whisper something seductive. I was about to skip. But then I froze. My thumb hovered over the skip ad icon while my brain struggled to connect the dots. The username on the channel was a suspiciously familiar nickname, one Rebecca had once used on her old Telegram, back when we were dating in college. I remembered it clearly. Becca Frost. It was unique enough to nail me to the spot. It felt surreal. Could it be her? No, I told myself. That's insane. She wouldn't. But the ad ended, replaced by the main YouTube feed. My heart pounded. My finger twitched, and without fully understanding why, I typed in that same handle on the search bar. At first, I found nothing but random references. Then, deeper in the suggestions, I noticed a link to an OnLifen's preview site. My pulse hammered in my ears. Should I? I swallowed hard, stomach twisted in knots. I clicked the link, half certain I was about to discover something that would break me. The page loaded. And there she was. Rebecca, or rather, a version of her that looked both familiar and alien. Her hair was styled in loose waves I recognized, but her expression was completely different. Bolder, sultrier. Her eyes had a certain anger that I'd never seen so openly. She wore provocative outfits, borderline explicit. Her posture screamed confidence and lust, an energy I hadn't received from her in years. I scrolled, numb, as if submerged in ice water. There were previews of videos, each short clip more revealing than the last. I don't know how many I watched, a blur of them, maybe 3 or 4. They all featured her in different sets, with smoky lighting and throbbing background music. In one, she teased the camera, speaking in a low, almost feral voice. In another, she was half-dressed, describing fantasies. In the next, she was lying on a bed, lips parted, eyes fluttering. That one had an unmistakable silhouette behind the camera, sometimes stepping into frame to adjust the angle. A man's voice, muffled, but there. My gut told me everything I needed to know. This was Daniel Fowler, some photographer she'd met through a friend, or so she'd once casually mentioned. Now, apparently, he was more than a friend. I felt sick. She hadn't just lied. She had become a different person entirely. A public persona for strangers to ogle, far from the woman I thought I'd married. It wasn't about her doing something provocative. It was that she'd hidden it, lied so convincingly, and channeled that raw, unbridled desire into a product for paying watchers. And oh God, the thought pressed in. She's sleeping with him. There's a difference between posting racy content alone and having a partner in those videos. My eyes stung. My heart pounded so hard I half thought I'd pass out. I didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't break anything. I just closed the browser and sat there, hands trembling. The city buzzed outside, a mocking reminder that life never stops. But inside, time froze again. I was alone. Married on paper, alone in reality. I thought about all the nights she'd come home late, claiming she'd been brainstorming design ideas with a colleague. The weird phone calls. The endless meetings. How stupid I'd been. How trusting. I got up on shaking legs, rummaged in the kitchen for some coffee. The harsh smell brought a momentary clarity. I needed something, anything, to survive this wave. My phone buzzed once. A message from a coworker reminding me about a Zoom call. Right. Work. Another piece of my life that had to keep going, no matter my personal hell. Around midday, Rebecca finally showed up. I heard the jingle of keys, the front door opening. She walked in with that same dress from last night, but now it was rumpled, and she wore an expression of mild defiance. She cradled 2 takeout coffees in a cardboard holder. "I got you a latte," she said, voice too casual. I looked at her face, searching for even a hint of shame or guilt. Instead, I saw that flicker in her eyes again, the same as in those videos, a strange triumphant curve to her lips, as if she was testing me, waiting to see if I'd lash out, or if I'd swallow my pride again. My heart hammered. The memory of her OnLifen's page burned behind my eyelids. I wanted to shout, to tear the coffee out of her hands and fling it against the wall. But I couldn't move. We locked eyes. She paused by the entrance, outstretched the coffee cup. "Aren't you gonna say something? You look like you've seen a ghost." Her voice dripped with a mix of amusement and challenge. I parted my lips, but no sound came. Then the anger boiled up. I clenched my fists. "You think I'm an idiot." I managed to choke out, my throat dry. She laughed, short, almost bark-like. "Where's this coming from?" The tension crackled. My mind flashed back to all those videos, that man's voice behind the camera. I squeezed my eyes shut for a second, fighting to keep control. Then I muttered, "Don't. Just don't." She set the coffees on the counter, arms folded across her chest. Michael, stop being weird. If you got something to say, say it. Something inside me snapped. The city outside fell away. The walls closed in. My voice echoed in the living room, raw and broken. I know what you've been doing. I know about your so-called content creation. I saw your damned videos, Rebecca. You and that scumbag you call your creative partner. I practically spat the words. Her eyes flared wide. She sucked in a breath, cheeks flushing. What the hell? Don't act shocked. You think I wouldn't notice your username? Your face. You think the algorithm wouldn't eventually show me an ad for your own channel? Jesus, Becky. I was yelling now. I never called her Becky unless I was furious. She flinched at the name, but instead of softening, she snapped back. So what if you know? She shot out. What? Now you're gonna forbid me from living my life, from expressing who I am. You don't get to control me. I needed to do something for me, something that made me feel alive again. God knows you haven't made me feel that way for a while. My head spun. The venom in her tone caught me off guard. Expressing yourself, by lying to me, by screwing around with that guy, by filming it for strangers. You call that expression, Becky? It's a betrayal, and you know it. My voice was shaking. I wanted to hurl the coffee mug at the wall, but my arms stayed pinned at my sides. She slapped her palm on the counter, and the sound reverberated like a thunderclap. I told you 1,000 times I needed more freedom, more creativity, more intensity. You just pretended to listen, gave me a nod, then got lost in your own work. I felt invisible, Michael, like a ghost in this marriage, this place, this life. It's choking me, choking you. We built this together. I roared, my throat burning. You think I don't feel trapped sometimes? You think I didn't have dreams? Our voices overlapped, crashing together in a storm of accusations. She pounded a fist on the marble countertop. I pointed wildly toward the door. Neither of us heard the exact words the other was screaming. All I registered was the anger, the betrayal pounding through my veins. The city's hum outside was drowned in our echoes. At some point, it just stopped. Like the film reel got jammed. We both stood there, breathing heavily, eyes shining with rage and tears. She turned away, biting her lip hard. And I realized something. I felt hollow. This outburst didn't bring release. It brought a deeper emptiness, a sense that time had devoured the last illusions I clung to. We stared at each other, chest heaving, two strangers in a battlefield. She swallowed, grabbed her bag, and stormed into the bedroom. I heard her rummaging around, maybe changing clothes, maybe wiping tears. I sank onto a kitchen stool, shoulders slumped, heart still thudding. My mind reeled. This was the moment I dreaded, the confrontation. But it felt incomplete, like a punch that never lands properly. The city outside glittered in broad daylight now, mocking me with its cheerful sunshine. Eventually, I forced myself to breathe, slow and steady. The breathing coach's voice from the session I took just yesterday echoed in my head. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold. Exhale slowly. Repeat. I'd hired that coach because I'd been feeling suffocated by anxiety. My gut telling me the storm was coming. I just never expected it to be this soon or this ugly. My phone buzzed again. A missed call from my boss. Work, life, obligations, everything demanded my attention, yet I couldn't function. I switched the ringer off. She emerged from the bedroom in sweats, hair tied back. Her mascara was smudged, like she'd been crying. I opened my mouth to speak, but she shook her head fiercely, took her keys again, and left. The door slammed. I was alone, truly alone, not just the hollow kind. The walls felt too tight again, so I escaped, grabbed my wallet and keys, headed outside. Los Angeles can be scorching, even in winter. Heat waves shimmered on the pavement as I trudged aimlessly through the neighborhood. I needed air, space, anything. Time was again my enemy, stretching every second into an unendurable torture. I passed a coffee shop, a few boutiques, then found myself by a deserted park. My feet carried me to a bench under an old willow tree. The shade felt like a shaky refuge. Sitting there, I watched the city revolve around me. People hustling, cars honking, joggers panting past. For them, it was just another day. For me, it was the end of an era. A middle-aged man walking his dog paused, nodded politely at me. I managed to nod back. He probably saw the torment in my eyes, or maybe he didn't notice anything. I sat for who knows how long trying to piece together how my marriage had come to this. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. That evening, I returned to the condo. Rebecca wasn't there. I flicked on a lamp, scanning the silence. My gaze drifted to the place we used to keep old photo albums, the ones from our wedding. I half laughed, half choked at the idea of looking at them now. Instead, I found myself in my office, opening my laptop. I typed that cursed username again, almost to prove to myself it was real and not some sick dream. Her page loaded, mocking me. The preview video started automatically. She was in a dimly lit room, wearing a tight black outfit that left little to the imagination. The camera panned to her face. She smirked, parted her lips, and whispered something about secrets. An electric jolt of pain shot through me. The next clip was more explicit, featuring a silhouette of a man behind her. The angle changed, capturing only glimpses of his body, hands on her waist, lips near her neck. My breath caught in my throat, and I slammed the laptop shut. The hot wave of fury, combined with heartbreak, nearly overwhelmed me. I wanted to break something, to smash every piece of electronics in the house. But I just stood up, left the office, and turned off every light. Darkness clung to me as I paced the hallway. Time, I kept thinking. Time destroyed us. And now that we were so far gone, I didn't even recognize the shape of my own marriage. My chest felt like it was caving in. I fought tears. The tears men aren't supposed to show. But they pricked at my eyes anyway. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. She came back the next morning, looking hollow and exhausted. We didn't speak at first. The tension simmered, waiting to explode again. But surprisingly, she set her bag down and said, "We need to talk." Her voice was low, scratchy from what I assumed was crying or lack of sleep. I gestured for her to follow me to the living room. We stood there, awkward, unsure of how to proceed. She broke the silence first. "I know you saw it all. You know everything now. I guess there's no point pretending." I let out a bitter laugh. "I knew you were lying, but I didn't expect that." I pointed vaguely at the space between us, as if her betrayal was a physical entity. She nodded, swallowing. "Listen, I'm not proud of how you found out. But I won't apologize for needing more in my life, for exploring who I am." My anger flared, but I pushed it down. "Spare me the speech, Rebecca. You lied. You deceived me in the most personal, humiliating way. This isn't just a self-discovery journey. It's a full-blown affair with an audience." She flinched, her jaw tightening. "Yes, there was an affair. I slept with Daniel. I won't sugarcoat it. But it didn't start just for sex or money. It started because he saw something in me that I felt you stopped seeing. I needed that spark. I gritted my teeth, and you couldn't talk to me, your husband, about it." Her eyes flickered. "I tried. You never heard me. You were too busy, too caught up in your own head. Remember all those nights I came to you, telling you I felt stifled, telling you I needed excitement. You told me to be patient, that it was just a phase, that we'd figure it out later. And time kept passing. Michael. Time was killing us, and you acted like it was just a rough patch. My throat was tight with rage, guilt, sorrow, all swirling together. So this is my fault now. You blame me for what? For not reading your mind. For not encouraging you to star in porn with your lover." The word porn came out like a slap. She winced. Silence stretched. I was vaguely aware of the city outside. Car engines raving, a siren wailing in the distance. It felt like the rest of the world was in motion, while we were pinned under a spotlight in some twisted drama. Then she spoke, voice trembling. "Do you even love me anymore? Or do you love the memory of who I was 10 years ago?" That question hung in the air, slicing through my defenses. Did I still love her? The truth was complicated. I loved the version of her that existed in my memory, the woman who once gazed at me with genuine warmth. But the real, present-day Rebecca felt like a stranger. "I don't know," I said at last. I let the words hang, heavy and honest. "Do you love me? Or have you moved on entirely?" She wiped at her cheek, turning away. I don't know either. I'm so confused." We stared at each other, the gulf between us impossibly wide. Then she let out a shaky breath. "I'm staying at a friend's place for a while. I need space to figure out what I want. I won't be making new content for a bit. I need to think." Her voice caught, and she brushed past me to pick up her bag again. An irrational wave of pain slammed into me. Even though I was furious, a part of me wanted to beg her to stay, to fix this. But my pride wouldn't let me. My sense of betrayal was too profound. She reached the door, paused, and whispered, "I'm sorry." Then she left, shutting the door softly behind her. Soft or loud, the effect was the same. An echoing emptiness that made my knees weak. I sank onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk days pulled into each other. Work calls, half-hearted attempts at living. I was on autopilot, just going through the motions. People asked me if I was okay. I forced a thin smile. Nights were the worst. Every hour stretch, reminding me that my wife was out there, possibly in the arms of another man, or filming new fantasies for God knows how many strangers. A part of me wanted to investigate further, to see if she was still active online. Another part of me wanted to hide from the truth. I started taking more breathing sessions. Found a new coach who specialized in stress release and mindfulness. The exercises helped me remain functional, but the emotional wound wouldn't close. Some nights, I'd lie awake, longing for sleep that wouldn't come, fixated on how time had corroded everything. If only I'd listened more. If only she'd confided in me differently. But regrets change nothing. Eventually, she texted, a single line, "I want to come talk." No emojis, no sign of emotion. Just that. I stared at the message for a while, then replied, "Fine. Tomorrow evening, 7 p.m., my stomach churned. I wasn't sure if I wanted to see her or not. But I had no choice. Loose ends had to be addressed. The next day arrived in a blur of half-focused tasks. By the time 7 p.m. rolled around, I was pacing the living room, dreading her knock. It came, quiet and polite. I opened the door. She was there, wearing jeans and a sweater, carrying that faint tension around her eyes. She stepped inside, nodded in greeting. In her hand, she held 2 takeout cups of coffee. A twisted sense of déjà vu flashed through me. She offered me one. I didn't take it. "Let's talk." My voice was flat. She set the coffees on the table, glancing at me uncertainly. She moved to sit on the couch, but I remained standing. She exhaled. "I know you hate me right now," she began. "And I don't blame you, but I want to explain. I never intended to hurt you like this." A hollow laugh burst from me, unbidden. "That's funny, because that's exactly what you did. So how exactly did you intend for me to feel?" She flinched, tears gathering in her eyes. "I don't have a good answer for that," she admitted. "All I can say is that I was lost. I felt suffocated. Then I met Daniel, and he offered me this chance to explore a bolder side of myself. One thing led to another, and I got in too deep. And yes, I crossed lines I shouldn't have." She wiped her eyes quickly. "I'm so sorry, Michael. For the lies, for everything." I studied her face. She looked genuinely remorseful, or maybe it was regret that she got caught. My mind replayed the images of her videos, the outlines of Daniel's hands. Fury surged, but something else bubbled up, too, an odd pity. She looked so fragile, so uncertain, like she'd thrown herself off a cliff in the name of some twisted freedom. I recalled the times we used to laugh together, how she once lit up a room with her vibrancy. That woman seemed so far away. Time had sculpted us into near strangers. "Why are you here?" I asked quietly. "Do you want to come back?" She hesitated. The clock on the wall ticked, each second an accusation. Finally, she shook her head. "I don't know. We've got too much damage between us. I want us to be honest about how we feel." My heart pounded. Honestly, I feel betrayed, humiliated. I can't imagine sharing a bed with you after what I saw. I paused, forcing back the trembling in my hands. But I also remember the woman I once loved. And part of me still can't let that go. She closed her eyes, tears leaking out. "I wish we could go back, fix everything." I gave a bitter shrug. We can't. And even if we could, time would just keep rolling forward. We'd make new mistakes, watch it all decay again. We fell silent. Finally, she said, "Daniel's not in the picture anymore. He was never someone I wanted to build a life with. It was just passion, a short fuse that burned out as quickly as it started." "We're not filming anymore." She bit her lip. "I'm done with that. For real. But I need to find out who I am without leaning on you or him." I nodded slowly, the words catching in my throat. "I want to move on too, but I can't do that with you here in limbo." "So, what do we do now?" She sniffled, glancing at the coffee cups. "I guess we separate. Officially." The words hit me like a punch. Even though I'd seen this coming, hearing it aloud felt like a final blow. My knees nearly buckled. I forced myself to remain calm. "All right." The word felt too simple, too small for the gravity of the moment. Her face twisted with grief and guilt. "I'm sorry," she repeated, voice quivering. I swallowed hard. "You're free," I said, my voice unsteady. "But not from yourself. You'll never escape the choices you made." She flinched visibly, nodding. Then I took a shaky breath and added, "I want you out. Today." The old me might have asked her to stay, to work it out. But the man standing here, shaked by betrayal, couldn't do it anymore. She nodded, lips trembling. "Okay, I'll go pack a few things now, and arrange for the rest later." I motioned toward the bedroom. She disappeared inside. While she gathered her belongings, I sat at the dining table, my mind blank. The city lights were starting to flicker on outside, the sun sinking below the skyline, painting everything in a dusky orange. A fresh wave of emptiness washed over me. When she reemerged with a small suitcase, there was a final, lingering moment where our eyes met. Neither of us spoke. Her gaze was full of regret or sorrow. I couldn't tell which. Then she left. I closed the door gently, pressing my forehead against the wood, fighting back tears and the desperate urge to scream. It was done. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. In the week that followed, I tried to distract myself with work. My boss was concerned, noticing my frayed edges, but I insisted I was fine. Coworkers avoided prying. I gave them the bare minimum of an explanation. "I'm going through a rough patch at home." At night, the silence was my enemy. The condo felt haunted by memories. The couch where we binge-watch movies, the kitchen where we used to slow dance at midnight, the bedroom that now felt more like a tomb than a place of rest. I needed closure or revenge, or something to ease the suffocating ache. I thought about confronting Daniel, about punching him in the face or worse. The fantasies were there, swirling in my mind. But I knew it wouldn't solve anything. The real problem was between me and Rebecca. Still, a small toxic part of me wanted him to suffer too. Eventually, I found a chance. Our mutual acquaintance, a guy from the creative scene, mentioned that Daniel would be shooting an event in an old warehouse downtown. Without fully planning it, I drove there that night, parked in a side street, and slipped into the building. The place reeked of sweat, cheap beer, and stale air. An amateur rock band was playing in one corner, while a group of edgy artists mingled near the makeshift bar. Colored lights flashed. I scanned the crowd, heart racing. I wasn't sure what I intended to do if I found him. Confront him, shout in his face. But I had to see him, to put a face to the man who'd stolen my wife's attention. Eventually, I spotted him. Tall, blondish hair tied back, a camera slung over his shoulder. He had that confident swagger, joking with people, occasionally lifting his camera to capture a shot. My blood boiled. I strode forward without thinking. As if sensing me, he turned around, eyes narrowing slightly. I must have looked half deranged. Rumpled clothes, clenched fists. He gave a crooked, cautious grin. "Hey man, can I help you?" I glared at him. "Daniel Fowler." He nodded, arms crossing. "Do I know you?" "Michael Carter. Rebecca's husband," I said, letting the words land like a gunshot. His eyes flickered with recognition, then a flicker of discomfort. But he didn't back down. He just nodded slowly. "Ah," he murmured. "Right. So I guess you're here to see the bastard who slept with my wife." I cut in, my voice taut with anger. The chatter around us dimmed a bit as people caught the tension. Daniel's posture stiffened. "Look, man," he began, voice lowered. "I'm not going to stand here and pretend it didn't happen. It did. And I'm sorry." That word sounded forced, like an afterthought. I let out a bitter laugh. "You're sorry. You made her your star attraction online, humiliated me in front of the entire internet. And you're sorry. Save it." My fists tightened at my sides. He raised a hand, as if to calm me. "Look, I didn't set out to humiliate anyone. It was her idea as much as mine. She wanted the attention. Don't you dare put this all on her," I snarled. "You were more than willing to enable her. You had no respect for the fact that she was married." He sighed, glancing around at the onlookers. "Listen, Michael. I'm not proud of the affair, okay? It just sort of happened. We got caught up in the moment. She was free to say no at any time." His tone was tense, but there was a flicker of defensiveness, like he was tired of being the scapegoat. Rage pulsed behind my eyes. I felt an urge to swing at him, to break that smug face. My body tensed, every muscle coiled. For a split second, I almost did it. But a strange calm washed over me instead. My breathing exercises kicked in. I inhaled, slowly, carefully, letting the wave pass. "You don't get it," I said in a rough whisper. "What you did destroyed years of my life. But you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. You can have your cameras, your so-called creativity. I'm done." I could see confusion on his face. He had expected a punch, a full-blown scene. Instead, I turned on my heel and left. My revenge was simply turning my back on this chaos. Let him see that I wasn't about to feed his ego with a dramatic fight. The anger seethed within me, but also a strange sense of release. Outside, the night air hit me like a shock. The city lights spinning. My heart hammered. I realized, with a small jolt, that I was done letting these people ruin my peace. If Rebecca wanted that world, that brand of freedom, fine. I was stepping out. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. A week later, she came back to collect the rest of her things. I let her in, silently stepping aside. We didn't speak much, but she kept glancing at me as if hoping for something. An argument, a conversation, maybe a spark. When she finished packing her boxes, I finally looked her in the eye. "Why'd you come back now?" I asked. Not angrily, just curious. She swallowed. "I had to pick up my stuff. We can't live in limbo. You deserve better than that." Her voice was almost too soft. I nodded. "You're right. I do." She bowed her head, tears threatening again. Then, as she turned to go, I mustered the last bit of empathy I had. "Rebecca," I called. She paused. "I hope you find what you're looking for." "I really do." She nodded, lips quivering, and walked out with the final box. I closed the door gently behind her. For a moment, I stood there, hand still on the doorknob, letting the silence settle. Then, quietly, I moved around the condo, looking at the spaces she used to fill. The bed where we had once tangled our legs together, the desk where she'd planned out her design projects, the mirror where she'd fix her hair, humming some pop tune. All of it felt like a stage set now, plastic and lifeless. A wave of sorrow, yes, but also acceptance. The sorrow meant I was still alive. That night, I did something symbolic. I took an old Polaroid of us, one from our honeymoon in Hawaii, and I burned it. The flame ate away at our smiles, the bright ocean backdrop, the shining eyes that had once been so full of love. I watched the ashes crumble in the bathroom sink, flicking on the faucet to wash them away. A quiet, final funeral for what used to be. Then I sat on the couch in darkness. Slowly, carefully, I breathed in and out. I recalled every memory, the good and the bad. I let them flood my mind. The laughter, the fights, the betrayal. Tears came then, silently rolling down my cheeks. I didn't fight them. Men do cry. And that night, I cried for everything lost. Sometime before dawn, I realized something. I was free too. My soul was battered, yes, but not beyond repair. And though time had been my enemy, it could also be a healer if I let it. The finality of that realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. I guess that's how I started to find my way back to myself. No, it wasn't a quick fix, but it was the first step toward living on my own terms. I told my boss I needed some time off. Then I booked a few sessions with a therapist. I walked the city streets when the moon was high, letting the neon lights remind me that, no matter how bleak life seems, there's always another path. I started journaling. I threw myself into my digital marketing projects, but also made time for things I'd neglected. Reading, swimming, calling my sister. Day by day, the numbness receded, replaced by raw, honest clarity. Asterisk, 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 weeks passed. The condo was emptier now, but also more peaceful. One evening, I was tidying up the living room when I came across a small envelope tucked behind a stack of books. It contained a short note, written in Rebecca's slanted handwriting. "Michael, I know you said we're done, but I want you to know, whatever else happened, I never stopped caring about you. I just didn't know how to be the woman you needed. Or maybe I never was. I'm sorry." Rebecca, I stared at the words for a long time. I felt the tears welling up again, but they didn't fall. Instead, I let out a long, trembling breath. Slowly, I folded the note and placed it on the coffee table. I didn't burn that one. Maybe because it was the closest thing to closure we'd ever share. Maybe because a tiny part of me needed a reminder of how quickly life can shift, how time can erode even the deepest vows if you're not vigilant. Her final words echoed in my mind. I never stopped caring about you. Caring, but not loving. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was just leftover affection from better days, overshadowed by a new self she discovered. Maybe we both were living illusions, afraid to face who we'd become. In the end, that single note felt like a final punctuation mark on our story. Asterisk, 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 I found a new rhythm in life. Work improved. I even scored a promotion thanks to a successful pitch. My breathing sessions paid off. I was calmer, more centered, less prone to burying myself in denial. Friends, the few I kept close, noticed a shift in me. "You seem lighter," one said. Different, but in a good way. I took it as a compliment, because as twisted as it might sound, Rebecca's betrayal forced me to face myself, to confront my own failures. I realized that for too long, I'd blamed time for the cracks in our marriage, ignoring the fact that I held some responsibility. And maybe so did she. We let time slip by, failing to speak openly, failing to adapt. That doesn't excuse what she did, but it explains how it all came crashing down. Occasionally, I'd be restless at midnight, walking alone under the flickering street lamps. I'd pass bars with rowdy patrons, diners with red neon signs, and I'd feel a certain kinship to the night. It was as if the darkness itself held me in place, reminding me that even at my loneliest, I wasn't the only lost soul in the city. Sometimes I caught glimpses of couples holding hands, giggling as they ordered late-night tacos. It stung, but it also gave me a faint, fragile hope that maybe one day I'd find a connection again, something built on truth rather than illusions. I tried not to dwell on Daniel. That chapter was closed. The revenge I wanted turned out to be more of an internal shift, letting him and his memory fade into insignificance. I refused to let him become some monstrous figure overshadowing my future. Did that mean I forgave him? Not really. But I released the hold he had on my mind. And so, life marched on. The city's hustle was both comforting and relentless. My therapy sessions unearthed old regrets, old wounds. My father's stoic upbringing, my mother's quiet acceptance, the expectations that I'd always hold it together. All of it shaped me, for better or worse. Now, in my late 30s, I was learning that vulnerability isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the bravest thing we can muster. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk months slipped by. One evening after a good day at work, I came home to the condo that was now solely mine. The emptiness felt more welcoming than haunting. I tossed my keys on the table, loosened my tie, and caught sight of that folded note from Rebecca. It was still there, on a small bookshelf. I hadn't touched it since the day I found it. For the first time, I picked it up again. My pulse steadied as I reread her words. I set it back down. Then, in a quiet voice, I murmured to the empty room, "It's over." And I realized, with a subtle jolt, that I felt a sense of finality, a sense of healing. No more illusions, no more clinging to something dead. I walked to the window, gazing at the city lights. They glittered in the darkness, alive and pulsing with possibility. I parted the curtains wider, letting the glow bathe me. The nighttime city was a vast canvas of stories, some tragic, some hopeful, all weaving together in the neon tapestry. Here I was, a single thread in that tapestry, with my own story of betrayal and heartbreak. Yet, I had survived it. I would keep surviving, keep growing. Time was my enemy. Time was also my ally. Because even though it eroded the marriage I once cherished, it also offered me a path forward. Like a river, it couldn't be stopped or reversed, only navigated. The city itself was a testament. Buildings rose, others were demolished. Roads expanded, others were left behind. Human lives shifted in a parallel pattern. Some soared, some fell, but everything changed eventually. There at that window I took a slow breath, the kind my coach had taught me. 4 seconds in, hold, then exhale. As I breathed out, I felt the last remnants of anger uncoil from my chest. Not the memory, not the scar. It would remain. But the raw, debilitating fury. It left me, at least enough to let me stand straight again. I recalled the final words I'd said to her. "You're free, but not from yourself." They applied to me as well. I was free from the marriage, from the lies. But I wasn't free from the lessons, from the knowledge that I'd played a role in letting us drift apart. That's a burden and a gift, a reminder to never again let time slip by without effort, without honesty. When I turned off the lights and walked into the bedroom, I felt the hush of the condo envelop me. But it wasn't suffocating. Instead, it was an invitation to rest, to gather strength for whatever lay ahead. The final scene of my old life had ended, and the next act was starting. Not a bright, triumphant dawn, but a gradual, steady sunrise in my soul. And so I slept, with no illusions, no regrets for what I should have done last night, or the night before. I slept knowing that tomorrow would come, and I'd face it as a man who'd been broken and somehow found the grit to pull himself back together. In that sense, Even betrayal and heartbreak had purpose. They forced me to look inward, to tear away the comfortable masks. And that, strangely enough, was a form of liberation. I don't know what lies on the other side of this healing. Maybe a new love, maybe a deeper solitude, maybe something unexpected. But I've made my peace with the fact that the future will come, whether I hide from it or not. So I take another breath, and I let the city cradle me in its rhythmic hum. The night is quiet, the morning is sure to be loud. And me, I'm here, alive, breathing, grateful in a twisted way for the clarity that only pain can bring. Time will march on, but I'm no longer standing still. I'm moving, too, with the current, unafraid of what I might find downstream. Because I know, at last, that on the far shore there was never a real home. Only flimsy decor, a stage set for illusions. What I'm building now is different, raw, honest, and painfully real. And for the first time in ages, I can exhale without feeling like I'm drowning. The story didn't end. It simply began anew.